Thank you. Okay, so good morning and welcome to the conference. Thank you for coming. What I'll do is just give a short overview of what the project is about and a few highlights of things that we'll be seeing later in the day. So NeTIRail came about thinking about the technology we were working on in a lot of EU research was geared around only high-speed railways, busy cities, and we realized there was a lot more to railways and a lot more needed doing with railways. And we came up with this concept for thinking not only about the busy, high-capacity lines running between major cities, but also thinking about some of the lesser used lines and thinking about what could be done to make those more viable, more cost-effective, and think about what technology might we need there. And also think about how we value that technology. So thinking about the future growth it might support, the impact on society, and how that might link into the bigger picture. Now, the interoperable part of our title came because if we think about some of the lesser used lines, quite often people talk about maybe they're thinking of road technology and moving it to the railway, but it can very quickly become incompatible. And you lose the benefit that those smaller lines could also be a diversionary route. They could also take ordinary heavy traffic, maybe not as often, but we want interoperability as well. So those were the routes to us thinking about how do we make more viable some of the lesser used lines, and we look at modern solutions alongside aging infrastructure, and we work out how do we make it all work together to unlock capacity and really maintain economic viability. We've also got some bits that touch the high capacity lines as well. Now, who's involved? Well, the map there shows the spread that you just referred to now, with right from the north of Sweden right down to Turkey. So a real spread of countries, and really trying to bring in all the different expertise for different types of railways there. So we've been running for 3 years. That 3 years seems to have gone past very, very quickly. And we'll hopefully be finished by the end of this month. There may be a few bits we're going to finish off slightly after that. And the countries and also the organisations all represented there. I think you'll get these slides later, so I won't read out all those names. What about the principles we organised the project on? Can I get rid of that pop-up? I don't know. I'll leave it. So we organised around 7 technical work packages. So first of all, we needed to think about what the business case for these railways was. What's the market need for them? And how are we going to pay for what we want to do effectively? So WP1, looking at market needs, business cases. WP2, very much thinking about track. How do we take the requirements for track, so the heavy loads, the resilience, the monitoring needed for track, but think about what's the most cost-effective thing to do perhaps for a lesser used line, but compatible with high-capacity lines. Similarly for overhead line, we want an overhead line system that every train can run on, but for the lesser used line it could be done more cheaply maybe. All of these things can be helped by monitoring and understanding of them, but probably not with a dedicated monitoring train. What's the low-cost way of putting some monitoring onto these lines for a railway that doesn't have a full monitoring train to dedicate for that? For the society that this train runs through, how do we value its impact on that society? We've developed some surveys and begun to understand things like the value of people accessing healthcare through the railway. But looking at what people actually use the railway for, there's a lot of value there which currently is not costed very well. So when we look at the cost of running a railway, it tends to be a straight evaluation of ticket revenue against the cost of infrastructure and maintenance. Actually, it can have a much bigger impact on society with giving people access to jobs, access to healthcare. And so WP5 is very much thinking about how could we account for that and begin to look at the real value of the railway as a whole. WP6 is trying to bring it all together and get all that information and technology and bring it together in a way that you could evaluate and make decisions about what should be happening on the railway. And number 7 is really what we're in now, which is disseminating that information. And there's still some training workshops to come up slightly later this month. So if you've not seen those, you can do them online as well as attending in person. Bringing all that together, we've got some boxes there to bring economic and social aspects together. And those, I think, are things that in a lot of the EU railway projects, a lot of the EU railway projects are very technical focused, very technical engineering. And we wanted to bring in the economics and the societal impacts. Then we've got our technical engineering. Out of all of it should come decision support tools, and you should see a demo, hopefully a live demo, if we can get through the Wi-Fi firewall. You see a live demo of some of those later on. Those are web-based decision support tools. So what things are we looking at then? Here's some of the technical ones. So you should later today be hearing about modes of vibration of track and understanding ways to reduce that and reduce corrugation forming on tracks. You'll also be hearing about transition zone design, that a conventional transition zone needs a lot of earthworks, it's very expensive. We think there's a lower cost way of doing that. It can produce good results at much lower cost. On the overhead line, you'll be hearing from, I think, some of our Romanian partners. We've got some really novel technology for monitoring on overhead lines at much lower cost than currently possible. So contact wire accelerometers, also some onboard voltage measurements. And think about those, we've tested those in 3 different countries to demonstrate their capability. On the track side, again, low-cost monitoring. So some of the same technology that's on the overhead line, we can apply to the track as well. And again, that's been demonstrated in 3 different countries now, giving us better understanding of damage mechanisms, preventive maintenance strategies, detecting damage on rolling stock as well, that's passing over these sensors. And all of this, we're aiming for low cost for the railway that doesn't have a dedicated monitoring system or monitoring train. And to bring it all together, and this is probably the toughest part of getting the project finished on time, I think, is to bring this together in a web-based tool that people can upload their own information to about the routes they're particularly interested in, and begin to understand what the technology we've looked at, how it might be used on their railway, how it might work. And so this is a web-based tool into which people can upload their own data and work with that data online. And we were being particularly careful with that about thinking about who owns the data, where the data is stored, and making sure that we comply with all the data protection regulations. Alongside that are things such as GIS, so Global Geographic Information System maps of climate zones, and thinking about if you're going to use lubrication, how do you tailor that to the climate? The same kind of greases you might be using on the track in Turkey in really nice hot weather. You probably don't use the same thing in northern Sweden where you're actually getting up into the Arctic Circle. So understanding that geographical aspect of the railway. And I think that's the last slide from me. Well, the last slide so far. I will be coming back to talk about transition zones because the person on the agenda who's due to do that isn't here. But I'll hand over to John and we can get on with the interesting stuff.
Thank you very much, David.